Sweet. Let's introduce ourselves. So, starting a new podcast. This is episode 1. I'm Simon, and we have Jake.
I'm Jake Cross from Empire.
And this is our podcast, Life and Fight of a Podcast.
Sweet. Simon, tell us a bit about yourself. How you got into this, and a bit about yourself.
So let's start at the very beginning. Must be around 11 years ago or so. Working, just started training at a gym just to try and lose weight, and I got bored to shit. And I sort of started looking for something to do aside from lifting weights. And a friend of mine put me onto the UFC back when it was like the Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz days, when they were sort of at each other's throats and fighting all the time. Watched the DVD, got on Google, and I found the first gym that I come across. It was SBG in Manchester. I went to first class, and I still remember this first session. It was Anna Main, and she tied me up in knots. And I think she's still training now as well. She's still a phenomenal player. And from that day,
now, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's done quite a bit. And she's still competing. Oh, she's not competing at the moment, is she?
No. I think they've got a baby now. So I think she's taking a bit of time off. But I think she's occasionally training, from what I hear through the grapevine. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And and it was at this gym, SBG, where I met Jake as well, and sort of we just became friends pretty much on that first day, didn't we?
Yeah, I think you probably started around 11 years ago, end of March 2009, and I started mid-April 2009. So yeah, we were literally starting at the same time at SBG. Obviously under Carl Tanswell, Martin Cahill, Matt Inman, like you say. The pedigree down there back then was unreal.
Oh, such a really good gym. Like Liam Wandy was there as well. I remember learning a lot from him.
Yeah, he was only a blue belt back then. Obviously, he's a black belt now.
He was.
So there's a lot of blue belts then, which are now black belts. You got like Chris Coltrane, Casey Jones. Casey.
Casey was there.
Who else was probably back then? Obviously, Inman's now black
Inman
belt.
was there.
Martin's a black belt. The pedigree is unreal.
There was quite a few good players on there, and unfortunately the gym shut after I think it must have been about 6 months of us being there.
Yeah, it's about the end of 2009, beginning of 2010 when it finally closed before it reopened a few years later, and that's when a lot of us sort of scattered about from then. Me and you moved to Fighting Fit for a few years, and then we did our own thing after that. Tell us a bit about your career then. So what you did?
So after that, I was there with Fighting Fit for a few years. I think up to about halfway through being my purple belt. And unfortunately, due to work, I couldn't make training as easily, so I had to sort of move gyms, and I went to Factory for a couple of years. And after a while I was there, I was sort of training between ASW and Factory. And my sort of passion for no-gi started to overtake my passion for the gi. And sort of naturally, I made the transition to become one of ASW's athletes, as opposed to training between the two. So I spoke to Adam and sort of let him know, and made the full move over to there. And then from there, I've been training with Cam, got my brown belt underneath him. And I've been with him now, must be coming up to 3 years. And must be about 4 or 5 years, actually. Think about it, because Hive's in its 4th year. So and after about 3 years ago, we're just in our 4th year, I opened my own gym with my business partner, Josh, JIU JITSU. And we're in our 4th year now. We just moved to a premises recently, and just give out our first batch of blue belts fairly recently as well, which was a very proud moment, but also a very nerve-wracking moment for myself, as it's my sort of first batch of promotions. But everybody very, very thoroughly deserved it. And this year, now that, unfortunately, before this whole coronavirus and the COVID-19 situation, I was starting to make my return to competing a lot more frequently. And I competed recently on the Polaris Contender Trials, and I had lined up a few competitions each month. But unfortunately, at the moment, that's all come to a bit of a halt. But we've managed to move all of our Hive stuff online, and keeping everybody training, keeping everybody sort of focused on their progress, even though we can't train together. And I'm trying to get things lined up for myself, competition-wise. So pretty much as soon as this lockdown's over, I can jump into the first competition to see and just get a lot more active on it. And hoping to get on as many Empire cards as I can as well.
Yeah, you were due to compete last week if Empire went ahead, which, like you say, because of COVID-19, it hasn't, and nothing sort of on hold at the minute. But yeah, it's the small things that I think people have noticed, including myself and maybe you as well, where the little things that you can't do, which are normal, like even not saying you can't do, but it's literally constantly on your mind. That's what I found anyway. So literally you're walking down the street and the first thing you see is just like, don't come near me, don't cough.
Yeah.
It's even if it's you not coughing, it's like that sort of thing where you say, oh, I've got an itch, and then you hear someone say that and you think, oh, I've got an itch now.
I'm like, now trying to scratch my head.
Simon's got nits with a number 1 haircut. But they've got to talk about the elephant in the room. We're on lockdown, but we've been fortunate enough to fly out. Simon, where are you right now?
I'm in Iceland. So yeah, enjoying these northern lights. I know we're recording at 12:30, but you know it's night time. Lovely view out there. Yeah, it's night time somewhere. But
for people that are listening to this on audio, we've got backgrounds behind us. Simon's in Iceland, and let's say I'm in Fiji or Hawaii.
I was about to say, like, I'm very, very jealous of your sort of current surroundings. I can see the backdrop of the beach there. Looks like there's a lovely breeze in there as well. Like, tell us a bit about your surroundings, mate.
Yeah, palm trees behind me, seas coming in beautifully. What more do you want on a lockdown situation?
Mate, cannot argue with that. Which reminds me, like, a friend of mine, he's currently stuck in Spain.
Oh, is it?
And yeah, he was saying, like, the main thing he misses is just going to the beach on his free time. And I'm like, mate, I just miss going out into the rain.
The highlight of my week this week has been taking out the bin.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
That's the highlight of my week. Something a bit different. Funny enough, we nearly missed it this morning. We noticed that the bin lorry was coming up the street, and we literally ran out and was like, as soon as we put the bin out, they grabbed it and was like, that was good timing.
Perfect. But
go on.
Yeah, sorry, I was about to say, tell us about, so you're, like, because obviously we started training together, but both of our sort of careers and trajectories went in, like, the same direction, but sort of kind of on 2 different offshoots.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We sort of, I wouldn't even say jokingly, when we was training at SPG in 2009, we always talked about what we wanted to do and what we wanted to get out of this. And I always knew I wasn't the greatest. I was good at the time because I was training 4, 5, 6 times a week, just like you, Simon. But I always knew I'm better at other things like organising and stuff like that. We was like, oh, we'd love to open our own gym, which now you've done. And I was like, I would love to run my own events, which I've now done. But I'm always got my hands all over the place in like different pies, as they say. I've run an MMA show, UK Fighting Championships. I'm looking to do that with Steve Nightingale and Aaron Aber. I run Empire Grappling. That's gone through a few different changes over the last sort of 8 years. Funnily enough, 2 days ago was my 8-year anniversary of the first Sub North in Fighting Fit. So
happy anniversary.
So it's just gone strength for strength. I think this last week would have been like the 34th event in 8 years. From fight nights. This is just grappling, by the way. The MMA side, I probably done about 20 of them as well. But I feel like that's where my bread and butter is. I'm good at it. I like to network. The following that I've got, I'm very lucky to have, and I've got a very, very good, I wouldn't even say small circle. I think I'm quite lucky to have maybe say like a medium-sized circle that I can trust, which includes Simon. I've got friends, Pat, Jeff, Tim, Carl, Lee, Chloe. I've got loads of people around me, and obviously my family and stuff like that. I'm quite lucky that I can lean on them with ideas and help with certain things. And me and Simon have worked together where we were lucky enough to get the same type of match from a previous sponsor of both of ours, where I would borrow Simon mats if he needed it for his gym, or I would borrow off him for the event. So We sort of leaned up each other the last 11 years now. It's been, and obviously I've leaned on Simon a lot of the last couple of weeks to keep me sane with training regiments and flexibility. And I think his Hive community, which I think it literally is a community, are quite lucky to have him. And Josh as well. Josh, we've met through Fighting Fit, played literally 9-10 years ago as well. The brain on that guy, we'll have to get him on as a guest at least at some point.
Oh, definitely. But let's go back to like Sub North days. Like, I remember those events, and it was, for me, it was sort of the first time kind of experiencing being on that side of sort of the fence of competition, because he brought me in as like a referee and sort of a bit of a runner for the day. And sort of, let's go back to your initial idea and sort of what inspired you to get started with it, really.
So it was around end of 2011, and I literally spent the last 2 years competing probably like 10 to 12 times a year in grappling, MMA, whatever I could get my hands on. And I've seen loads of things where I was like, that doesn't work, that does. I could do that better. Maybe a bit of an ego in me, because I used to run things for my nana's pool team in a pub years ago, even when I was in my early teens and stuff, where I'd organise the matches and the leagues and stuff like that. I was like, I can do this better. I just need to get the experience. So I got maybe the word headhunted, or however you want to, or selected to compete at like an interclub in Bolton. I was the only outsider brought in to compete. I think they just wanted to fill a gap, and I knew the guy that run the gym, and I was probably a bit more experienced than them, not by much. There was young competitors, and I was lucky enough to win that. And there's only 8 people. I was against a pretty young kid who was up and coming, and that was a great matchup. And I just looked at it and was like, 8 guys, that was fun. There's probably like 15 people in the crowd or whatever, mums, dads, whatever you want to watching it. And then I just literally come out on that. I was like, I'm going to run one of these. Spoke to the guys at Fighting Fit, Ian, J, Martin, and we put that on. And the first one was 35 competitors, and I don't know how many spectators. I didn't really picture that on the day. But it was basically Fighting Fit, Stealth, and a couple of other little gyms that are about, like the Bolton gym that I mentioned. I think they were Fight Base. You had Omar Frederick from Sukata, 7 foot. He was probably like 18 at the time. Walked in the gym, we're just like, I'm not going against him.
My neck's still sore from looking up to him, just trying to look him in the eyes.
So that was sort of the birth of it. And then we did 8 sub-norths at Fighting Fit, and then it got to a point where it was getting a bit too big, where the entries were getting just causing registration early because of the size of the gym. Now the gym was pretty big, but we decided to move on, and then I rebranded to Grapple Nation, and I did that for a couple of years with a business partner. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out with a business partner. But Grapple Nation sort of took a hold and became one of the most well-known and established events quite quickly. I was fortunate enough to be in that position with a lot of following, and because of my MMA and no-gi background through gyms and competing myself, that following sort of connected with me and the events quite quickly, whereas in the gi community it took a bit longer. So I didn't really do gi events at the beginning. I probably did 2 in my first 15 maybe. And then I think
as well, I've got to interject there, is some of the super fights that you had. I think you were one of the first events to start hosting super fights as part of the competition day, weren't you?
Yeah, the tournament format. So we, I've literally started releasing them. So if you go to the Empire Grappling page on Facebook, I've started to release the archive of that footage from Grapple Nation. I think we're on Grapple Nation 2 at the minute. We had
some of those super fights that you had were, like, for me, possibly some of the best fights within the UK scene, probably arguably Europe scene.
Yeah, the main event for the first one in April 2014 was your coach Cam Atakuru versus Anthony Jones from MMA Academy Liverpool. Funny enough, I've just bumped into Anthony a few weeks ago. I've not seen him in a few years. He's just getting back into training himself. But yeah, it just sort of put a staple that super fight aspect was quite cool. And what we did for the main event, we would stop all the other matches and surround the centre mat, which was really fun. Unfortunately, I'm at a point now where there's great events out there like your Pantheons and your Figure Fours run by Liam Khan and Chris Thompson, respectively, where I don't want to water down my advanced divisions by putting these super fights on unless there's a necessity for it. And plus, I don't think I would be able to ever stop all of the matches to centre around that because it's so busy. Because the first Grapple Nation was 200 fighters or 200 competitors, whereas in the most recent one, if it went ahead last weekend, would have been nearly 700. So trying to stop 10 mats for 20, 30 minutes is going to put a lot of people behind. And plus, if you're halfway through divisions or whatever, then they start to get cold, and it's sort of not a fair thing. So if I did bring that back, don't think I would stop the matches. But I think the advanced divisions are quite stacked on Empire now. You have like our old coaches like Matt Inman. I've had UFC and Bellator fighters, Fabian Edwards, Scott Ashton, Matt D. Casey over the years. I'm quite lucky that a lot of them still want to compete. So from Grapple Nation, like I say, it was a business decision to rebrand to Empire. And that was nearly 4 years ago. 4 years ago, nearly, yeah. So I enjoy doing the grappling side, and I'm now fortunate enough to have this as my base, as my full-time self-employed employment, even though it's unsure times. It's not really benefited me that much, but I'm fortunate enough to have a bit of money behind me from what I do, and I can sort of work from home as much as possible and do my own thing.
Well, definitely, like, mate, you've put the work in, you've put the graft in, like you said. You've been running events for 9 years now, 9 years?
8 years, the events, yeah.
Like, you've put the groundwork in, and it's taken you this long to be able to make that leap, and you've built a solid reputation. Like I said, they're some of my favourite tournaments to compete in when I get the chance to.
That's nice because I do hear that a lot. That I think outside the box, I offer things that other events don't really do. Like, I think some events are too strict. That the IBJJF are quite strict in the fact that you've got all this weighing as you go on the mat, and you've got to weigh in twice if you're doing gi and no gi, if they do that on the same day, and you've got to have certain coloured gis and no patches in certain places and no rash guard under your kimono. There's obviously more things in that. I just think, and obviously first thing as well, like, you get knocked out in like the first 10 seconds, unfortunately, by an armbar submission, whatever it may be. And then you're done for the day or done for the weekend or week or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And you paid, if it is in the Euros in Portugal, you paid over £100 to compete, you paid over £100 for your flights, you paid hundreds of pounds for accommodation, and you're knocked out in 10 seconds, where mine obviously are not that big, they're more local, but you pay a lot less. You get a second bout if you lose 90% of the time, obviously barring injuries or whatever it may be. And I've noticed to say whatever it may be a lot, so I need to stop that. So I just feel like I offer more for the local community. I've been lucky enough to now expand to Yorkshire, which is thriving for jiu-jitsu community. I've moved to Wales recently for the events. I was in talks to do Scotland, Birmingham and Ireland in the next sort of 12 months. Hopefully this sort of circumstance ends as soon as possible, not just for me but for a lot of people. I think it's
obviously, like, there's the reasons where we want to sort of get our business back rolling and try and continue growing, but it's more for the social side of things as well, where we want to try and get everything back to normal as fast as possible. It's quite a scary time, and like I said, I think we've both been quite fortunate to be within a community which is so self-caring, but also we managed to build a good community around us, and everyone's coming to support each other, which is sort of I've noticed amongst many coaches outside of grappling, there doesn't seem to be as much unity amongst it, which has been unfortunate, really.
A bit better. I've got sunglasses on now because the sun is in my eyes. Makes it look a bit better. Maybe we can touch on, obviously we don't want all doom and gloom, because if people haven't realised by the time they've seen our logo for the podcast, it is called the Life and Fight of a Podcast.
Oh, yeah.
But the reason we sort of played with them words was the initials, LAF. It's not doesn't spell it correctly, but it's the LAF Podcast. So
That's it, yeah.
we're getting to know you now, but we're going to bring in guests, try and bring a bit more low key, tell stories, try and have a laugh as much as possible, especially with what everyone's going through now. That's what people need, something to smile about, something to listen to, something to keep people busy. So we'll talk on a bit what's going on now. What's your thoughts on it? Obviously, it's more based on facts than what our thoughts are, but what are your thoughts on it? How's it affecting you? Go on, Simon, go for it.
So yeah, do you mean like as in the lockdown and how
COVID-19 it is a full thing?
Personally, it's not affected me too much physically and mentally just yet. I've managed to sort of move Hive pretty much entirely online at the moment, so that's keeping me busy. We're doing online workouts, mobility sessions in the mornings. We're doing match analysis as a club together, and that's keeping me busy and keeping me active. But it's also keeping my brain going, which for me has been the toughest part. Like, it's as opposed to sort of being stuck watching Netflix all day and not moving, and being stuck behind my Xbox, which I've back in the like a few years ago, I probably would have resorted to just playing Xbox all day. If I'm being honest. Like, I'm pretty sure most lads have, or most
I've done it this week. It's just something to keep yourself busy, something to break a bit of routine. Well, you want routine, but you want to break it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's like that's where I've given myself set hours each day, really, where if I feel like I want to, I can have an hour or two on my Xbox. But if I'm honest, I've not really felt like I wanted to or needed to. So that's not been as hammered as it probably would have been in the past. Like, my Xbox has been on because I've been using it for music. That's been my huge saving grace, has been music. Like, I don't know if you've noticed it, but I've been really enjoying a lot of the battles between quite a few of the artists that I follow.
Okay.
So, like, there's been a few of them where it's been like producers or songwriters where they've been going through the catalogue with the music they've been involved in. And they've been going song for song, kind of like trying to one up each other, being like, oh, here's a song I wrote. And the next one's going along going, here's a song I wrote.
Okay.
And for being like, for me, like, music's my escape. Music's my huge escape. And having that ability there where it's the interaction with the artists that are involved in it and the songwriter and everything else, it's just been a great relief. And like, with the streams that I'm doing in the mornings for the workouts, I've got like a playlist on for my mornings, and it sort of transitions to a lunchtime playlist and so forth and so forth. So that's been like a big thing for me. That's just keeping me going, is the music. But by yourself?
It's weird. I'm not really a music guy. I enjoy music. I'm more, if someone says, who's your favorite artist, I'm more, well, I like that song of an artist. I don't really like a full album. I could have music maybe on in the background if I'm in the middle of doing something. The thing with me, I like to multitask. So in my office, I've got 2 screens on my computer. I've got a small TV on the wall, so I can watch my wrestling in the background, or the news, or MMA, or whatever I want to catch up on. I find it very difficult to just do one thing. Maybe I need to multitask to try and keep me a bit sane. But that's been me for a long time. I can't just sit still. I don't like being bored. I think bored can send you down a big hole. I think especially 100%. With what people are going through at the minute, whether that's unemployment or can't go to work. You know, it's weird. People want a bit of time off, but it does get a bit boring being at home. People want to be out, go for a walk. No, if the gym was still open, my routine wouldn't be much different than now. My girlfriend's at home. She's recently been furloughed. She's working until the end of March, but they decided just to take the government's offer and give people a bit of time off. I can see her being at a bit of a loose end. It's strange to feel like no one wants to work. People would rather be paid to do nothing, but
Of course.
it creates a routine. And that's one thing that I do miss from my 9 to 5, but I do enjoy my freedom. I'm more up to date with things. I can create new projects, just like this, really. Look, I got my graphic designer to design the logo. I'm up to date with my wrestling for the first time all year.
Fantastic.
I watched so much of it. But
how's that been affected with this? Because like growing up as a kid, I absolutely loved wrestling. I can't remember what era it was, but it's sort of like when it was Vince McMahon versus Stone Cold, and I was in love with that era.
So it would have been sort of 98, 99, maybe lean on to 2000 a little bit.
Yeah. How's all that been affected? Because like it's something that I do enjoy when it's on TV, but for me, I struggle to find the time to fit it in at the moment.
Yeah, it's affected massively because I should be in Florida now for Wrestlemania this weekend, which is a thing it's sort of dawned on me more this week because my phone got a flashing up saying you've got a flight this week because of my calendar when I booked the flights. For me, it's affected me more this week, and it's a bit annoying because I should have been at the Hall of Fame last night. I should have been at SmackDown tonight, TakeOver tomorrow, Sunday Mania, Monday Raw, and then I would have been in Orlando for Disney for a couple of weeks. That was sort of my 30th birthday present, and then her birthdays as well for this year. So there's no crowd. There's not been a crowd for around 3 weeks in anything, unless they pre-recorded it, which NXT
so
UK...
are they still running the events then?
Still running the events. This is where it's up in the air. So NXT UK, which is sort of the developmental brand for WWE, they were planning a takeover UK in Dublin on April 26th, which is around 4 weeks away. So they recorded up until that event, I believe, around 4 weeks ago. So they recorded about 8 shows because they tour, whereas in NXT America's just gone live because it's going head-to-head with All Elite Wrestling. And then you've got Raw, SmackDown, and then the WrestleMania coming up. They've already recorded everything up until Mania. It's just behind closed doors, so no one knows the results. They're doing it over 2 nights now rather than 1, because WrestleMania normally every year now, it's like an 8-9 hour affair, which is a long time to be sat down. So they're doing it, from what I've heard rumoured, around 3.5 hours each night. But without the crowd, it's not great. There is people that can cut great promos like Bray Wyatt, John Cena, Ric Flair. If he was doing one, you could sit and listen to him and just concentrate. Chris Jericho and Matt Hardy in AEW are great to watch. But when there's no crowd reaction and you can hear the bumps a bit more, I wouldn't say it's not watchable. It's just disheartening because the whole point of it is entertainment. It's just like if you go to cinema to watch a film or watching a TV series, you want to react. Obviously, this is more crowd reaction, just like if you're watching years ago, Family Fortunes, Bruce's Price is Right, or whatever. You can hear the crowd interaction more so. Saturday Night Takeaway is a great example. They did no crowd on Saturday.
I've not watched it yet, but I can just imagine how airy that got.
Yeah, I only watched it through Gogglebox, which was on late at night when I was about to go to bed. But it's just not the same. But because it's storyline orientated and you've got to watch it to know what's happening when everything gets back to normal, or hopefully as soon as possible, I want to keep on watching it. These matches that I do want to see. WrestleMania this year, I'll quickly go over the card whilst we're on the subject so we don't need to come back on it. But from what I can see on it right now, I'll share the screen so people can read it as well. Give me a second. Optimize. So, Si, can you see that?
I can do, yeah.
So this is just Wikipedia, so it just gives you a bit of an understanding. So the matches I would have been looking forward to would have been Rhea and Charlotte. Just because first ever NXT title on a WrestleMania.
Wow.
Then you've got Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre. I think if there was an audience, I think Drew would have gone over there. It's from Scotland. They're building him up. He's just won the Royal Rumble. But I can see Lesnar retaining just to protect McIntyre a little bit because if win it with no crowd, it won't make any sense. Goldberg Reigns, I'm not going to touch on because I don't know why that match is happening. Becky and Shayna.
what's Goldberg like at the moment now? Is because remember when, like, let's say I was watching it when the WCW and the WWE were sort of having their sort of crossover matches and the takeover.
Yeah.
And I remember him being like a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Let's have a look. So how can I explain it? So he came to WWE in 2002, April, fought The Rock, and then he fought Brock Lesnar a year later at WrestleMania 20 in 2004. So 2003, 2004, he was there for 12 months. And then he disappeared. And then he came back around, say, 3-4 years ago, had a few matches, won the Universal title, fought Brock, lost against Brock, then disappeared again. Then he's come back a few weeks ago, fought in Saudi Arabia, won the main title, and now he's facing Reigns. It annoys me because there's so many more people that deserve it to be in that stance. I get he's a well-known guy, but that match didn't need a belt. And this is talking about storylines. People, if kayfabe is the word they use, which sort of means like the storyline going into it, the showmanship. Roman Reigns is someone that's been forced down people's throats. He's related to The Rock. He's a big Hawaiian guy. It's a great match on paper, but for the title, didn't need to happen. Shayna Baszler, which MMA community, she was one of the pioneers of women's MMA. She's good friends with Ronda Rousey. That's why she got a spot. But she probably is one of the best wrestlers on the roster. She's fierce. She's scary. She's rarely been defeated. Leading into this storyline, she took a bite out of the back of Becky's neck. Which it created a bit of animosity between them, a bit more real. To get that title shot, she had to go through 5 women in an elimination chamber, so she literally like submitted everyone or pinned everyone. So she walked through the whole match. So that's something to look forward to, because Becky's been champion since last year's WrestleMania when she beat Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, the first ever women's match to main event at WrestleMania. So that's a good match. John Cena, Bray Wyatt happened WrestleMania 30, I believe. So that was 6 years ago. But Bray Wyatt's new character is called The Fiend, which is sort of like a scary, mask-wearing alter ego of Bray. So Bray's this sort of fun-loving guy where it's a bit more sinister, you can tell. I think Cena's there just to big Wyatt up a little bit, try and elevate him a little bit more. Cena's on his way out. He'll always wrestle, but not as much. He does movies like The Rock did. What else have we got to look forward to? Undertaker, AJ Styles. On paper, probably one of the best matches you'll ever see. AJ Styles likely is probably the top 5 wrestlers in the world ever. And Undertaker's character, the fact that he's been doing this for over 30 years as this character now, is unreal.
Well, I remember back when I used to probably he's one of the guys that I still look out for today. As a sort of casual, I'm more like an armchair casual fan. But yeah, Undertaker was one of the guys that I used to absolutely love watching. His whole character and persona was just, for me, it's captivated.
I completely agree. I think his rumours is he's changing back to sort of like a normalish Undertaker now, sort of a bit of a badass, an American badass for this match.
Do you know what? I'm going to get on a ledge here, but I thought the American badass sort of bit he went through, that's where I was, like, I still liked him as a fan, but for me, it wasn't a highlight of his career.
I'm the opposite. I don't like his phenom. I love the American badass, but I know a lot of people that, your mindset of that's what they like. I was fortunate enough to be at a wrestling show about 2 years ago in Liverpool, where I got to sit down. Well, an audience got to ask questions to Bruce Pritchard, Cody Rhodes, and I asked Bruce because he was booking at the time. The Dead Man scenario was only 2-3 years at the most, maybe a bit more. And I asked him why the turn, because he was popular. He was still active in his career, whereas in the slow Dead Man scenario, the Phenom, whereas a lot slower, he's better for this age right now, even though he should be retiring. And he just said it was just time. They just thought it was best just to switch it up there and then. They know better than me. But I just thought they could have got a couple more years out of it. I think the last thing maybe to touch on with WrestleMania is the Edge Randy Orton. Edge retired Edge retired in 2011 because of a neck injury, and said if you ever wrestle again, you'll likely be paralyzed.
Oh, wow.
A few years later, he got reconstructive neck surgery for, I think it's the second or third time in his career. And then he was told there's a possibility that he might come back. So he spent years building his strength up in his neck, and then he got the all clear late last year, returned at the Royal Rumble, which was a surprise, which was amazing. And then Orton is his old tag team partner, and Orton's got a sinister side. It's sort of a scenario where he's smashed Edge with a chair, even though we just returned from a neck injury. He's done his special move, the RKO on Edge's wife, Beth Phoenix, which is an old wrestler anyway, so she knows how to take the bump. So that's a last man standing match. That would have been great for the audience. I don't know what they're going to do with it. So that's what I'm looking forward to. The rest are neither here or there. I'm not overly too fussed about the rest of the card.
Yeah.
I will be watching.
Recognise there, the Bobby Lashley,
MMA.
Yeah, that's just he had quite a promising career at the start, didn't he, of his MMA career? He sort of
fought in Strikeforce, yeah.
Yeah, he had similar start time. Was it Brock Lesnar? He had a similar start time around him, but he was just fighting on smaller shows and building his CV. Whereas Lesnar was kind of pushed the limelight, and similar to what you're saying about Roman Reigns, kind of pushed into the fans' throats. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lashley is good. He was part of the Strikeforce. He was in TNA. I think he was a bit of Bellator as well. But I think he just decided he had stuff to finish up in WWE from when he was there a long time ago. He was in a match at WrestleMania, him versus Umaga, rest in peace. It's actually Roman Reigns' brother that passed away probably about 5, 6, 7 years ago. I probably got that wrong. He was facing him at WrestleMania, where Vince was in Umaga's corner and Donald Trump was in Lashley's corner, and the losing manager had to get the hair shaved, and it was Vince that lost. So he got his hair shaved. So it ties into Donald Trump now, President of the United States. You would never guess that then. There's a lot of things going on in this world that you wouldn't ever have foreseen. But yeah, everything sort of comes full circle. But yeah, that's the WrestleMania card this year. I don't know what's on Saturday, don't know what's on Sunday. I think that's pretty cool as well. I'm trying to stay away from that. Don't know what's going to main event. I think Goldberg and Reigns will main event one, and I think Lesnar and McIntyre will main event the other. But we'll see.
Brilliant.
The stop share. Back to us.
Aye.
I'm going to go back to normal, I think, because the video's messing with my head.
So I'll get rid of my background as well. You can see me back room, my cupboards. But no, it's like things like this. It's sort of making me sort of a little bit excited about the wrestling again that I've not really seen as much of. I'll probably try and catch a little bit myself.
If I was someone that had watched it in the past, or even someone that never really watched it but has time now with everything that's going on, I would recommend NXT, which is a developmental brand, but it's basically the third brand now. It's the matches on them. If you can go on the WWE Network, which is free for a month to new subscribers. So if you're booked on it now, you would get WrestleMania this weekend. You can watch all the archive that Simon was referring to when he watched it. You can literally watch everything. But I would watch NXT America, or NXT, it's just called. I just call that because of NXT UK brand. The matches that you get, the Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano's, the people that have come up through there, like Adam Cole at the minute, the leader of the Undisputed Era, is amazing. And then on the flip side as well, you've got something brand new, which is All Elite Wrestling, which is run sort of by Tony Khan. His dad owns the Jacksonville Jaguars and owns Fulham Football Club as well.
Oh, wow.
So he's running that with Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks, and Matt and Nick Jackson. So they are four of the best independent wrestlers probably in the world. So they're running that now. They're doing no crowd events, but they've just introduced a new belt called the TNT title, which is sort of their mid card. So for previous fan, TNT is the TV channel, so like Sky Sports.
Yeah,
that WCW was on. So
didn't they have? Wasn't there a wrestling organization that had a similar name to TNT?
TNA, so Total Non-Stop Action. So that's now Impact Wrestling. But TNT is just like Sky Sports or Sky One. So TNT's been around for decades. It's behind a lot of things. So if you had the original Sky back in the 90s, as soon as Cartoon Network finished on that channel at 9 p.m, it went over to TNT. So that's when you got your WCW and stuff. But that's for the first time since 2001. They've got a brand on there. They've just created a mid-card title, so they're doing a tournament over the next few weeks to sort of keep people interested. That's something I'm looking forward to. AEW's cool, NXT. But yeah, obviously people like what they like. If you get the network and you go back to the 90s or the early 2000s, the Attitude, the Invasion era, or the Ruthless Aggression era when Brock first came into it, that's what I would definitely recommend. That's what keeps me sane. That's what keeps me busy. But I'm a wrestling geek, as most people who know me know.
Nah, mate, it's good to have a passion. Like I said, you're with your wrestling the way that I'm sort of similar with the way that I try and keep up to date with the music and things like that. It's
exactly, yeah. What's good to listen to these days, Ensai?
Don't know. It depends on kind of what your preferences are. Because me, like I'm sure quite a few of you know, I'm a really, really big hip hop head. So it's with
your old band, was it Saw? Did you say?
We can't talk about them days just yet. Oh wow, yeah. Back when I used to think I was a bit of a grime MC and used to dabble a bit of DJing and production as well. And funnily enough, I've still got some of the stuff on the hard drive.
That needs to come up on a future episode.
You might get a little preview of that at some point. I'll have to try and dig out the hard drive and get some of the songs, but I'm pretty sure the lads that were in the group, they may not be the best pleased with that. But you know what? It's all for a laugh, really.
Of course, as the podcast says.
But just getting these today's new releases, just for sort of albums to look out for today, for me personally. There's a couple that are coming up over the next couple of weeks that me personally I'm keeping an eye out for. It's like there's a group called Griselda, sort of like a label that's come from New York, and they've just been super active over the past year or two. So a couple of their artists have been releasing quite a lot, and there's one that's coming up called Pray for Paris with West Side Gun. Okay. So for anyone who's a sort of a fan of the mid-90s Mobb Deep sound, 100% keep your eye out for that album. And the track listing is looking ridiculous. But for anyone who's looking for sort of house sort of daytime playlists to sort of get into, somebody's fortunately made a playlist of a recent battle. Let me try and find it. Bear with me on one more. Here we go. So anyone who's like a massive R&B fan, like Neo, he's quite a big like songwriter as well as he's made his music. But there's him and a guy called John to Austin.
Okay.
They went song for song over Instagram Live recently, and someone penned together the songs that they put together, and then fortunately someone's gone and put a playlist together for it. So this has been my sort of daytime background work music, but it's just been for me, it's one of my favourite R&B playlists at the moment. If anyone's out there, it's called Battle of the Pen, Neo versus John to Austin. But yeah, that playlist for me, it's just sort of been a bit of a saver recently. Yeah, no, 100%.
I'm gonna have to give that a listen myself, even though I'm not really a music head. If it's something for the background that you can sort of like are you saying it's sort of like, are they one upping each other? Are they telling a story?
They're sort of trying to go hit for hit. So it's sort of so it's they're trying to appeal to the fans of the music that they've written for. And it's like I didn't get a chance to watch the battle because it was done in like 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which works out around 1 or 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to keep a bedtime routine at the moment, so I'm not staying up past about 11:30's my bedtime, and you get like nobody's getting anything out of me there. So I would have liked to actually watch the battle, but having the playlist there and going through it, it's a absolutely cracking playlist.
Sweet. Get lit if you're into your music, guys. If you want something just to keep going, get onto that. I'm sure we'll get a link for you for when we post this anyway. Might make it a bit easy to find. Maybe more topical for what's going on now. So this is more your sort of genre that you so the Gordan Ryan DeBlas situation. I touched on this on another podcast with a few friends the other day, but I don't follow this much of the higher tier of the grappling scene as much as I would like due to time or whatever. But I did see this, and it split more people than I thought it would. But yeah, go for it, sir.
Yeah, so like for those that don't actually know about it, what happened was Gordan Ryan and Tom DeBlas, they posted a picture which kind of implied that they trained and rolled together. For those that sort of know the sport, it's very, very close contact. And there was around 10 people in the room. Now, apparently, a bit more information came out afterwards, and half the people in the room actually lived together. But still, someone who's in a position of power and sort of responsibility, I personally thought it was like a highly irresponsible thing to post up. Now, if they wanted to train and they wanted to continue with their sort of day-to-day routine, kind of do it behind closed doors. Like, you don't have to publicize that you're breaking these lockdown rules. There's a lot of people that are at home sort of wanting to train, but are sort of putting the greater good ahead of it. Whereas I personally think it was quite a selfish act. And I'm not going to go into the comments and what they were saying, but I kind of think that it showed a lot about their character and kind of throwing it to the wayside and disregarding the hard work that everyone's doing to try and combat this sort of this virus and this disease. It's kind of belittling all the hard work, really, and it shows a lot about their character and disregard for others. And it's quite telling. But like I said, if they're going to do it, do it behind closed doors. Don't broadcast it, and deal with it in house. There's no need to cause so much of a stir, especially when everybody's stuck at home and they're wanting to train and they're wanting to go out and do their normal socializing stuff. Like the Ruotola brothers, they posted up recently where they're training at home in their own facility. So not in their own facility, I think it's in their house, but they're doing it amongst themselves and they're not going out and putting potentially others at risk. Because again, it's not the people that are there training that's going to be at risk. It's the ones that they're potentially going to come into contact with.
Oh, you're right. Or,
like, it's highly irresponsible. And personally, I really do think that the way it was handled and the way that they carried themselves in response to it all just showed a lot. Like, it revealed a lot about their character and kind of discredits them as a person of power, because the community does hold them on a pedestal. And there's a lot of people that look up to them. And if they're there spreading, it's kind of spreading like misinformation, saying it's okay to do this, even if that's not what they're saying, it's kind of what they're showing. And the actions are sort of saying a lot. I didn't comment on it on my social media, or I didn't really get involved in the comments. But a few private conversations that I had, I really thought it was highly irresponsible and selfish. Like, really, really selfish.
Yeah. So I've literally left my house twice in the last sort of 2 weeks, gone for a long walk. But I do find myself quite busy in the day anyway, so I'll sort of do a bit of routine, a bit of exercise in the garden or whatever, or I had to nip to the local shop just for cat food. It's one thing that we forgot to get when we did a big shop. We sort of, my girlfriend sort of does Asda the last 2 Sundays. I don't know whether it's she drives, I don't, so she can drive to Asda. I don't feel too comfortable going out. I'm not like it's weird. I'm not bothered about. I've said it on the podcast. I'm not bothered about getting it. I'm just scared about who I might come in contact with afterwards if I did get it, and who I might affect, and that would play on my mind a lot more than me getting it. And I know Catherine's the same. So I'm glad that she can go out. I would glad that if it came down to it, I'd walk to Asda, I'd pick my things up, and I'd walk back if I had to. It's affecting people a lot, and I think that was more of an ego run for them. Yeah. Especially, I think more with Gordan Ryan. So like missing no days off. I still want to be the best. I'm doing it while you can, or while you're not. And I think it was a bit of a dick move. I would love more than anything now that I'm not going to America for WrestleMania to have a couple of my wrestling mates over. Like I was around at a mates last year for WrestleMania. Have them over. We've even spoke about, because we've both been in isolation for technically 2 weeks, if it's worth doing, but I just don't think it's a smart thing to do right now. I would love to have a few friends over. We've talked about doing this like a Zoom call like this where we can still talk about it. There's loads of things you can do. We're in 2020, even though it's been a crap year so far. Technology is amazing. Imagine this 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. It'd be completely different. Facebook was just a thing, just becoming a thing, big thing then. We're lucky enough, and on the flip side, unfortunate enough to have all this connectivity and stuff, because it creates so many conspiracy theories, whether some factor true or not. It creates keyboard warriors, people comment on stuff, like you said about you didn't comment on the Gordan Ryan thing. I find myself not commenting on hardly anything or posting anything regarding my opinion, because it could affect my business, what my opinion is. And I don't think my opinion matters to most people anyway, within reason. So I try not to comment as much as possible, even though I'd like to, because some people do annoy the hell out of me. But I kind of block them or remove them as a friend if I've got them, or unfollow them, or whatever category you put them in. Some people need to stay quiet in certain situations. They're not doctors. They're not. I'll release my opinion on this format. People don't have to believe me. I'll try and give as much facts as possible. But like you, Polly, you fall into the hole, maybe like me sometimes, where we read something and you think it's gospel when it's probably not. And you see it and it's in your brain a little bit.
I think so it's many one things of them where, like, if you read something and you it sounds pretty convincing, we've got the world at our fingertips now. And I think it should be like, to be responsible adults or just responsible people in general. If you see something and it's and you want to know more about it, or you're going to start telling people about it, it's important to do that little bit of extra reading. Like, there's some things that I read where I'm like, I don't really care about it, so I'm not going to read too much into it, and I'm not going to spread it. But if I see something, I will try to do a bit, and I'm going to sort of use it as a source of information or try and tell others about it. I would try and educate myself a little bit further, so I've got more facts around the subject, rather than just trying to spread this misinformation. Because it's dangerous. It is dangerous. It takes one person to sort of take this misinformation and then potentially harm somebody else.
But not intentional. It's just they just seen it as gospel. Like, there's opinions, there's perspectives, and I feel like people need to listen to what they're being told by the government right now, whether you like it or not. I'm in the unfortunate position where what the government is offering is packages and money and stuff like that. And because I'm sort of in the middle ground of leaving 9 to 5 and creating Empire as a business where I can start paying myself a little bit, I've got nothing to prove. So I've just got to hope that this ends as soon as possible. But I'm not going to go on Facebook and give my sob story. I'm technically talking about it now, which wasn't the intention. If I put on that I didn't think the government are fair, they've missed my percentage of people, because there will be people in my position, it's not going to do anything. I've just got to bite the bullet, get on with it, and hope, like I say, it, not just for me, for everyone, this ends. This is horrible. This is a lot worse than I envisioned it would be. But I'm hoping now, I've seen today on the news, they've just opened the Nightingale Hospital in London, which is scary to see, but at least things are happening. I think the way the government have done things maybe was a bit slow, but you had to do things in that order. Like, for the reports I'm seeing on the news about India, I don't know if you've seen it, sorry Sam, to cut you off. India's government just decided to lock everything down. So because Delhi was locked down first, people just thought, right, we'll just leave Delhi, which caused mass gatherings, people leaving. So then they reopened everything to go, right, we need to put things in place first. This is how people are going to get paid. This is how people are going to get food. And that's what the UK government's done. Trying to lock things down straight away. People would have gone, no, I'm not being told to lock down. I've got to feed my family. I've got to do this. Where they got that, people will be paid. People will be paid this much. This is how it works. We're going to open these lines. Then we'll do this. Then we're going to close the schools. Then we're going to do this. It's been a bit slow, but who's been through this in our lifetime? No one.
No. It's like, say, it's made sense the way that they've run it all. Like I said, I'm not the most political person, and like I'll sort of, like I said, read the information that's sort of relevant to me. But like you touched on like a really good point there about those people that are sort of in between that first year of their self-employment. Because I've been seeing it a lot in there, because I'm also like a personal trainer, sort of work in the fitness industry. There's people that I've been seeing on certain forums where they're complaining that they're being forgotten about. And it's like, at this moment in time, if you've decided to go down the self-employed route, like we've done this with this now, try find other ways to adapt your business and try find other ways to maybe even generate a new revenue stream whilst you've got all this free time on your hands.
Yeah, I think content is key, and keeping people keep the eyes on you a little bit. I don't mean that as an ego way. So I think like more like with your side, I think it's got to keep your clients happy, got to try and keep them in a forward motion, because I feel like a lot of gyms and stuff are worried that people are just going to go, well, I'm just going to stop training anyway, which will happen with a small percent. I don't think it'd be as high as people think.
No.
Then with me, I'm re-releasing the Grapple Nation archive because I've not put it on Empire yet, and I think it's the best time to sort of, here's a couple of videos of people to pass time, say like Empire's still here, we've not gone anywhere, stuff like that. I think I've seen a lot of people do it. I've seen a lot of people do it great as well, and I think Simon, let's blow your trumpet. I think you're a prime example. What I've said it to you before, what you give to your clientele, your customers, and even people, just friends, and even giving advice to other people and vice versa. I think what you do is amazing, and I think if
thank you.
A lot of people should take note, follow suit. I don't want to say it's copyright or copycat or whatever. I think it's I think it's people should do things to keep busy and should try and give the best that they can to their custom, their clientele as possible.
Like I said, like we've got a whole world at our fingertips now where we can work from home, we can develop an audience for ourselves, we can work on our hobbies and try and turn our hobbies into some sort of income. Like, it may not be enough to generate the income to replace your main income stream, but it's something that you're going to be passionate about, that you can start to develop something. Like, we don't really want to turn this into like a business podcast just yet or at any point, but I'm like, me personally, I'm sick of seeing the woe is me attitude that's happening at the moment. Like, yeah, it's a really bad time.
Wait, I did get woe is me attitude.
Yeah, where it's sort of like, sorry, it's just like, I don't know if it's many people have heard that phrase, but it's kind of like, feel sorry for me because it's not gone my way.
I feel like I've heard it before, but I was like, I don't know what it means. I sort of grasped it, but I just wanted to make sure I was reading it right. Okay, so yeah, sorry about that.
Like, because everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's going through this bad time together. So it's kind of like, yeah, the government can't cover everybody, but it's a time now for everyone to sort of stand up and work together and collaborate together and essentially get shit done, as opposed to sitting on the thumbs and not just sitting there complaining.
Yeah, so I run, or I do another podcast. I've not really been part of it. Both our friends, Tim McKnight and Matt Condon, they we did the first episode with 3 of us in Tim's house. And then I moved to Lee, which is miles away from the location. So I said, I'm just going to step back, let you guys run it. Then we live close to each other. And then because of this, it made me think, I can use Zoom to do that. And we did one on Wednesday, the 3 of us like this. And I thought, well, that's the future anyway. And then we spoke the other day, I think it was about a week ago, maybe. Yeah. We thought, we can do this. Let's put a few ideas together. We thought of the name. We've done a logo. It's because we've got more time on our hands. But sometimes when you get backed into a corner, it creates stuff like this. And I feel like more people will do this and more jobs will go, well, you worked at home and that worked and you actually did work. Whereas in people, I know from my other 9 to 5 working as solicitors, they didn't want people to work at home. Because they didn't think you would work. Where I think from my friends that still work there and now they're working at home, they're still working, they're still getting things done, they're still making profit, they're still dealing with customers and clients and getting things done. So I feel like it will change the way we look at things. It's horrible to go through this scenario to get to the other end, but I think hopefully it will make us stronger. It's just unfortunate that so many people are dying and will continue to die until there's either a vaccine or we've got herd immunity or whatever it may be. So yeah, I'm hoping by the summer I still get to go to Disney. I get to do SummerSlam, which is the aim for August. A bit of normality.
Yeah, hopefully it's going to come pretty soon. But yeah, I think hopefully it all ends soon and we can get back to normal. And like I said, I want this to continue, this podcast. Like I said, we've spoke about this podcast and it started out of unfortunate circumstances and it's going to continue once the fortunate circumstances come back to us.
Definitely. I think the last thing we want to touch on is just UFC 249. Yes. The only thing apart from wrestling that seems to be going on, everything else is shut down. Films not being released at the end of the year, Coronation Street, EastEnders stopped filming. Wrestling and it seems the only thing that was going on. But UFC events have been cancelled, postponed, whatever you want to call it. But they're still trying to do UFC 249, whether it's going to be on a ship, whether that's going to be in space. No one knows.
Dana White's going to figure something out, I think. And I'm not going to lie, I am upset that the Ferguson and Khabib fight has been stopped again.
For the 5th time in 6 years.
It's like, I do still hold hope that it's going to happen. Because looking at that fight stylistically, it's going to be a great matchup. I personally think Khabib's going to win. I do think he's going to take down Tony Ferguson, pass his guard, and just sort of try to get the submission. But Ferguson is very, very dangerous.
Off his back as well.
Off his back and in a lot of various positions. And he's very erratic with his movement. Like, he's unpredictable, which I really enjoy watching. And I don't think they've got a replacement for him now because Khabib's stuck in Russia, isn't he?
Khabib's stuck in Russia. The rumours was Gaethje. There's a rumour of Conor McGregor. I think they are the only two that sort of make sense. Otherwise, there's no point in putting Ferguson in there. Whether it's going to be for an interim title or not, I think it will be for interim title. What other matches will go on? I don't know. It was like, if it's on, I'm going to watch it. It's something to watch it. I was looking forward to. I'd rather be Khabib and Ferguson. I'd rather it not be in this situation. But I would just postpone it. I would postpone WrestleMania as well. I understand things need to be sort of ended storyline-wise or fight-wise, and people want something to do. But if Dana can make it work and everyone's safe and it's for the benefit of a bit of showmanship and a bit of something to watch and something to look forward to, like I say, everyone's safe and there's multiple checks, then go for it. But if not, postpone it, cancel it, move to July 11th, which hopefully everything will be done by then. That's their sort of signature International Fight Week. Do a stacked card. I think over the years they've done an Invicta show and a couple of other UFC shows, like Ultimate Fighter finales and a main pay-per-view. Do a 3-day event, 2-day event. big it
I
up
think
massive.
The only issue maybe with that date though is the fighters training in between now and then.
Yeah, you're completely right. This is the thing that we've got a problem with.
Because like no one's going to be able to train. Like I'm sure there'll be ways around it. Like maybe the fight camps will have the finances in place to be able to be like, okay, let's get everyone into quarantine, isolation for X amount of time, get them tested, and then get everybody into the same house, and then have a facility in there where they all live and train and don't leave. Maybe that could be some way for them to train sort of in quarantine and prepare for these events. But logistically, I can imagine that being a bit of a nightmare, and financially being a bit too much of a burden. But I'm sure Dana White and his business partners within the UFC and the media group that own them could finance that some way. And like a pay-per-view at this time, I think the fans will be willing to pay for it, especially in the UK where we're kind of used to getting the free events because of BT Sport. But I do think that there'll be a big return on the investment if they can find a way to get this done. Like I know me as a fan, I'd happily pay for that kind of event if everything was done in a safe manner for the athletes.
Yeah, I think a lot of revenue will come from sponsors because there's not really many things for people to put things on. So I think the monetary side of a sponsor for that event would go higher. So I think that's a good way to make money back. And like say a pay-per-view, if it was between sort of £10 and £15, I think I would pay for it. What funny thing you say about the safety and maybe a lockdown scenario, but they've technically already done this for years in the Ultimate Fighter house. They put fighters in a house. They've locked everything down. They can't leave the house. Then they're put into an arena where they fight with next to no crowd. And it's funny because Shayna Baszler's fighting on Wrestlemania, and she actually put a tweet out of her in the Ultimate Fighter house, which she did years ago. I think it's Ultimate Fighter 14, maybe, give or take. And she was basically saying, being locked in a house, I can't leave. And then I'm competing in a no crowd event. Been there, done that, bought a t-shirt. So so she's already done it. She's just doing it again in a different different
arena.
Place. Yeah, different arena. So it is doable whether you would put a Conor and Tony or a Khabib and Tony or Khabib and Conor in a house or whatever matchups are going to be, because there are still it's a blood sport, and it's going to be very strange of how they do it, because you've got to think about in the Ultimate Fighter, I think obviously they go 8 or 16 to a gym, don't they? They train with that team and then they leave, and then the other 16 go. How would that work? Do they have multiple gyms? I think that's the best scenario, but then obviously you got to think about judges, the refs, the doctors. They've all got to be around. Do you lock Herb Dean and Matt Goddard down? I don't know.
Well, I guess the judges they can do all this remotely.
True, but I've seen that done before.
But then there is a bit more. Yeah, there's a bit more time for a bit more risk of interference, which is a bit of a worry. But there'll be ways around that, I'd imagine. The referees, I think, they'd only have to be in isolation for a week or two prior to the event. Yeah. Which, if they're following the lockdown rule set, they'll already be in that scenario anyway, so they should be healthy.
It's funny there, Simon. It looks like you're sponsored by VAR because your string is covering the eye. VAR. But no, that I do agree. I think the judges remotely. I think the referee only in lockdown for before, and then obviously the doctors are there if needs be doing the medical checks. And obviously, as long as you can make that work out, and the athletic commission. I don't know. The boredom of me wants the event because we've not had an event for about 4 weeks now, MMA, and it's obviously going to continue on. I'm fortunate to still have wrestling, even though it's a very, very different scenario right now. But main thing to people that are listening or watching this is just do things that you enjoy, whether that's watching Netflix, working out, Amazon Prime, WWE Network, UFC Fight Pass, even Disney Plus that came out last week. My missus loves that. I think she's watched about 30 films in a week, including the TV series on them. But yeah, use it like you say. Do whatever keeps you sane.
As well is try something new. Like, keep active, ring your loved ones. Like, stop texting, give people phone calls, like
FaceTimes,
the whole, like, we've got more time in our hands now. Like, there's an interesting thing I was listening to, another podcast that I listened to, where they were like, when's the last time that you rang your loved ones? It's during this lockdown.
It's a good thing. I spoke to my brother on the Xbox yesterday, and I don't really speak to him that much anyway by message or whatever because we're both quite busy. But I've not seen my mum, dad, or two brothers since February 21st. That's before the lockdown, but that's because how busy we are. We live a bit away from each other. But my granddad had just passed. We'd just buried him. We were sorting things out, and then I had an event the end of February, and then obviously it's got a bit mental from there. We expected to see each other for Empire last weekend because they weren't my events. But my dad's like, "Yeah, you coming down to see us?" And I'm like, "No, you're still in work. Oliver's still in work, so I'm not going to risk it because I could catch it and give it them. And obviously they're a bit older and stuff. Just like your parent is." You want to protect them more than anything, and
definitely.
I'd rather remove myself, and you've got that FaceTime, and I speak to my mum a bit more. But
I think that's like takeaway message from this is just use this time effectively. Netflix is great, but maybe restrict time to it to outside of like your normal, like what you're doing now.
Yeah, you said before, you're batching stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, like have work hours, have hobby hours, have upskilling hours where maybe you're going to read a book that you've been putting off. If you've been telling yourself you want to learn a language, now is the time essentially to do that. Now we've got more time. Yeah, like let's just maximize this time.
No, I think the upskill ones is a great thing. Me is burning.
Yeah.
I don't really read. Like the joke is when someone refers to a book that I can't read. It's a bit like listening to music because I'm doing that one thing, and you literally can't multitask with that single. You can multitask with music, but if you want to listen to it properly, I feel like if I read, my brain sort of drifts off, and then I'm rereading the same lines constantly. I prefer to learn practically, so maybe learning a new language, somewhat online. Is it Rosetta Stone? They might be doing a deal right now.
Like
something like
Duolingo on your phone. It's like
Duolingo,
everything's at your fingertips. But yeah, I think should we wrap this up?
Yeah, let's wrap this up. So
go for it.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, and also let's thank our sponsors as well. So like obviously I'm sponsored by ENVAR and ID Pure. I really appreciate their support as well. And Jake.
The people behind me, ID Pure, same as you, Progress Jiu Jitsu, Barefoot Jiu Jitsu, Mad Skills, which is Tim's brand, which obviously helps develop Empire into what it is, the sort of behind the scenes and the tech side. Thank you guys. I'm probably missing someone, but my brains at mash. I'm sure we can put some logos either end of this video if we missed anyone or anyway. But yeah, thanks for listening. We'll try and get a couple of these out a week with some guests and stuff. That's the idea in it, Si.
Down the line, definitely get some guests in there. Try and get the content out for everybody.
But yeah, sweet. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Thank you.